Do you know your brand values? I think that brand values are one of the most important things that you need to be aware of when you're thinking about your brand. And that's because your brand values are like the guiding star, or the direction that you're going in, the inspiration and the influence behind so many other parts of your brand. It's the way that they feed into everything else. So when you're working on the additional parts of your brand strategy after your values, often you need your values before you can do the other pieces, because it all just fits together, like a perfect jigsaw puzzle. And if you don't have those values in place, then you'd have to go and work that out at that point. So if you can do your values as one of the first things that you work on to do with your brand strategy, that's going to set you up really well for everything else. But it's also going to set you up really well when you're thinking about what packages and programs and products you might offer, when you're thinking about content that you might create, when you are thinking about naming your products and packages and programs. It's just so useful to know what your values are for pretty much everything that you put out there and everything that you do in your business, when you're making decisions, when you're hiring people, when you are working on all the other parts of your brand strategy. If you know your values, that's going to just make all of that so much easier. It's also going to mean that everything is going to be able to be a bit more consistent, because you've got that focus on what your values are. That's so important. So I'm going to talk you through today different ways that you can work out what your values are. Well, two different ways. So the first way is to spend some time, paper and pen, and just sit and journal about what matters to you, about who matters to you, about what you really care about what is really important in your business. So those things, that's what your values are. They're about the things that really matter, the things that are non-negotiable, the things that if somebody said to you, today you cannot do that, you would go, no, that won't represent my business. You want to be thinking about the stuff that you care about so much that if it was taken away, you would feel like you lost something. That's what you're trying to discover through this process. And that should help you come up with some words, some phrases, some sentences which describe the stuff that you care about. If that works for you to work out your values, then that is brilliant. Journal for as long as you need. And then, the next exercise, I'm going to talk about how to gather those ideas together. You can come and join that part of that after you finish journaling, just to think about how you can collate what you've got into something that really makes sense for your brand. So it's just really very much honing in on the stuff that is just so important, that you really care about, that you would want to be held accountable for in your business. So if that's too difficult, because some people find that process far too hard, or you might not be a writer. To be fair, you could also do it by just speaking. Then you can do something else. It's an exercise. It's the most common exercise that I do with my clients if they're not sure what their values are. You get a whole load of words. There's a link around this video where you can go and download the worksheet for this. A whole load of words, loads and loads of words on a sheet of paper. And what you need to do is go through all of the words and decide which ones resonate with you. So this is about looking for words that you believe in, things that you feel you're already doing, things that you feel your business is, words that just feel right. So as you're going through the list and you're circling literally any word that seems good to you, or you might look at a word and think, that word's not quite right, I'm not going to use that one here, but I might consider a slightly different word, because the words on the list are not exhaustive. There are not a lot of words on that list. I've given you a very pared down version of my values lists. Then, you can have different words. You can go look at a thesaurus and find a word that you really feel works better for you, if that is going to do. Or it might inspire you to think of a word that isn't on the sheet and you're like, oh, I want to have that one. That's great. Add that word in. It also does not have to be words. It can be phrases, because you might feel that you need extra words to describe that value. And that's great, because that's making those values more personal and more unique. And you're really spending some more time thinking really carefully about what they mean. So this is something that might take you a little bit of time. I mean, some people can do this quite quickly, and it might be like 10 minutes later, they've rattled it down. They're like, that's it. I'm sorted. I'm really happy. I think you have to have a certain level of clarity before you start to get to that point. But if you don't, then it might take you a little bit longer. So this is about thinking about things that you already are. We're not looking into the future. What are your values in the future going to be? This is what your values are now. Hopefully, your values of the future won't be too much different. Values don't change that often. They do change. They might tweak a little bit. You might change a word here or change a phrase ever so slightly over there. But generally speaking, they stay roughly the same for quite a long time because they are something that is so integral to your business that they have longevity. So it's about looking for things that you are, things that are real for you right now, but also things that you know you can do something with. So when you have these collections of words, you get to the end of this list of all these things that you've circled, go through it again. And what I want you to do is get rid of anything that is super obvious. So you don't want to say you're professional. You don't want to say that you are authentic. Well, you might do, but you might want to see through those things. But I think those are very obvious words that I think most people's expectations of you would be. So you want to take away the things that people are going to expect as a given when they think about your brand. When they think, oh, I'm going to work with this person, I expect them to be a certain way. You don't want to give in to those expectations because that's there already. People already have that set expectation of you based on the industry that you're in. You want to create new expectations, something different that helps you stand out from other people who do the same thing. So as a brand explorer, I wouldn't want to say, oh, I'm really creative, because you probably already assume that I am creative. So it would be a bit of a wasted word. And I don't want you to waste any words here. I want these phrases, these words, these values to really mean something and have impact and show how you are different compared to other people. So anything that's like super obvious, get rid of that. Then go through again and think about which ones you really feel stand out the most, which words are weaker and which words are stronger. And the stronger ones, I want you to pick them up and put them down somewhere else. And then you can start to rearrange them. So if you did the journaling, you might have some words and phrases at this point that you have collected. This is the point where you get those words and phrases and you stick them down in front of you and you have a look at what you have, regardless of which exercise you did. And at this point, we're looking to create 3 to 5 groups of words or 3 to 5 phrases that represent your brand values. So you are probably going to look at this and you're going to think, oh, I've got this whole set of words that mean similar things. People often come up with I'm friendly, I'm approachable, I'm kind, words that can be very similar in meaning. So it's about really looking at those collections of words and saying, which ones of these do I want to use? Or are they relevant? Is there another set of words that is way better than this, and I could just ditch that one? I don't need to use it because it's not as important. So this is a bit of a thinking exercise, and working on your brand is not something where you can look at it and go ping pong pong. It's something where you do have to think. It is about thinking, because everything about working out your brand happens up here and in here. So it's the things that you feel really connected with and the things that really help you to stand out. So have a look at those collections of words and see how you can phrase those into 3 to 5 different sets of wording. And that can be, you could have an individual word, you could have a couple of words, you can have a whole phrase, you can have a whole sentence. Do whatever you need to do. There are some businesses, you can go out and Google brand values for pretty much any of the larger businesses, and you'll find loads of them. And there are some of them out there that will use whole paragraphs to describe a value, and I am not a fan of that. I think it's really important that your values are really easy for you to remember and anyone else who is working with you to remember. So if you do have a paragraph, you need to have some kind of overarching title that encompasses that. So you've got something to really hone in on what that means, and then you could describe it. I think it's really important to think of it from that perspective, that you're going to have to remember what these values are for a while. It's not something where you're going to just shove them in a drawer and forget about them. These values are going to impact everything that you do in your business going forward. They're going to be the thing that you come back to when you're making a decision, and you want to make sure that that decision aligns with your values. You want to make sure that that hire aligns with your values. You want to make sure that that thing that you want to do is in alignment with your values. It's so crucial that those are at the heart, at the center of what you're doing in your business, because they are what it's all about. So they need to be memorable. If you're getting rid of all of those words and phrases and ideas that are not unique, then you're going to have unique values. So anything that is, like I said, what people would expect, get rid of all of that. You're going to have unique values, because nobody else is you. Nobody else is your business. Nobody else is going to have the same collection of values to stick together to emphasize what it is that matters in their business. The other thing is that they need to be real. So I said at the beginning, these are actual values for what you stand for now. They're not some sort of pie in the sky, let's get there thing. This is something that you care about. This is something that is close to you. This is something that when you look at them, you think, yes, I really resonate with those. That's something that in my business, I'm already doing. I'm already working with these values. And that's great. And then you might think, well, what's the point in doing this values exercise? I'm already using them. So the point is that you can come and refer to these values whenever you want, as can other people, which is really useful. But it also means you can do more with those values. So you can look at those values and you think, I'm already doing this. But actually, now I know this is my value, I can really, really pull on that and do more with it and make it something bigger, make it more obvious, make it more evident in my business so that people can see that that's something that I'm really standing for, which means that your values also have to be really doable. They have to be something that people feel they can take action on, that you feel you can take action on, even something that you feel you can expand and you can work with, and that you can show to other people that that's what matters to you. And once you've got all of those values, I would leave it for a little while. I would look at your values, you've made a list, and that is great. And then I would just hang on a couple of days, and then I would come back to it and make sure that it still feels really good, because it's really important that these values feel really good to you. And if you feel maybe the wording's a bit off, or maybe that value that you thought was really good on Tuesday is not quite so good by Friday, that's a bit of work that you then need to do. Just go through the exercise again until you have nailed it, and until you're really happy with what you have. Because once you have this list of values, it just makes everything else so much easier, because you use this to influence the visuals and to influence the visibility in your business. You use it to influence the decisions that you make, use it to help you create what you want to create in your business based on those values. That's so important. They are absolutely the peg that you hang everything on. As Rita said at a networking event several years ago, I thought that was brilliant. They are the peg that you hang everything on. So every decision you make, everything you're thinking about in your business, everything you're putting out there needs to tie in with your values, so that you know that you are threading them through everything that you do and creating a really strong brand. This is how you create a really strong brand. And it's about being consistent with those values. So not just forgetting about them one week and going, oh, I'm not interested in that this week, I think I'll do this instead. It's about always utilizing those values to make sure that your brand is really strong, those values are really coming through, and people are getting a really good idea of what it is that your business is all about, because your brand is the things that other people have going on up here about your business, stuff that they're thinking about, not what you're thinking about. So if you use your values, then you can help influence those thoughts by the stuff that you are putting out there that other people are going to see, they're going to experience, people are going to feel. And if you are using those in a consistent way, then those things that other people are thinking about your business in their head, your brand is going to turn out to be closer to what your values are, that the brand that you set out to create. So brand values are just so exciting and so important and so useful. So I would love to know what your values are. If you could let me know if this exercise has been really useful for you, that would be amazing. Yeah, let me know. Come into my group and tell me what you came up with.